Hey, it's Joshua. This is part 2 in my series about prisons, so if you haven't watched the first video, I recommend that you go ahead and watch it first, and then come on back here. Before we can really understand why we have prisons, and how the modern prison industrial complex came into being, we first need to understand why we punish people in the first place. After all, prisons are supposed to be a punishment for breaking the law. There are two main theories for why we should punish people. The first is utilitarianism, and the second is retributivism. First, a utilitarian punishment is supposed to have some social utility as a result of the punishment. The overall goal of utilitarian society is to increase happiness or pleasure and decrease unhappiness or pain. So, a punishment is justified if it has some purpose and increases net happiness. However, the punishment should not be inflicted if it is groundless, ineffective, needless, or if the pain of the punishment outweighs the pain caused by the damage of the crime. Appropriate uses of punishment under a utilitarian theory can be split into three main categories: deterrence, rehabilitation, and incapacitation. With deterrence, the goal is that the threat of punishment can deter a person individually. For example, a person who is on parole is deterred from committing future crimes because they don't want to be sent back to prison. Or it can deter people generally. Everybody knows that you'll be sent to prison if you commit a robbery. Rehabilitation, on the other hand, is the attempt to reform the criminal so that they conform to society's expectations. Convicting somebody of a crime and inflicting some kind of penalty might be enough to convince somebody to change their criminal ways, but rehabilitation can also include education, therapy, skills building, or even medication. The third utilitarian theory is incapacitation, which can either be temporary with some kind of prison sentence, or it can be permanent with death. The idea is to prevent the person from being able to commit future crimes. So less severe forms of incapacitation include things like probation or parole supervision, or restrictions on the person, such as a prohibition against the possession of a gun or alcohol, or something like a restraining order against a person or a place. That's utilitarianism in a nutshell. A retributivist theory, on the other hand, is more focused on the individual, whereas utilitarianism was focused on society. Positive retribution says that a guilty person must be punished, and guilt is the only thing that matters. Even if the punishment has no deterrence or rehabilitative value to it, the wrongdoer must be punished. Negative retribution is similar in that guilt is necessary to inflict punishment on somebody, but it says that guilt is not a sufficient condition. The main concern here is punishing somebody who is innocent or who does not deserve punishment. Protective retribution, on the other hand, is a little bit different. It says that you made a choice to break the law, and therefore you must be punished. In order to respect you as a person, we have to hold you accountable for your actions. If you do the crime, you've got to do the time. Finally, assaultive retribution says that criminals are evil and must be punished. Criminals are just noxious insects that have to be ground under the heels of justice. Okay, now that we understand the main principles for how we justify punishing people, let's think for a minute about how the US uses punishment. The prison system was born out of the original penitentiaries that people thought would make criminals repent for their crimes. But most penitentiaries didn't really do all that much to turn people into law-abiding citizens. The modern prison system is really just a warehouse for people. It's the most severe form of incapacitation other than death. There is no other utilitarian purpose to just locking people up for decades. Our prisons are really just a form of retribution, and it's probably just assaultive retribution. You're a bad person, so we're going to lock you up and throw away the key. No part of the prison system treats prisoners like persons, which is a key part of positive, negative, and protective retribution. Instead, it treats prisoners like animals and dehumanizes them. There is a third theory of punishment that some jurisdictions are starting to explore called restorative justice. It focuses on the victim and how to make them whole, while also taking into consideration the perpetrator's circumstances. It's a really exciting possibility, but I'm going to spend more time talking about it in another video. So comment down below, what principle of punishment do you think that we should be using in our criminal justice system? Which one do we actually use?